Okay. Hey, I just want to welcome everybody here tonight on our call, here online and also on Facebook. So, hey, really appreciate each and every one of you taking the time out of your busy schedules to appear here. We have several people that have been coming and showing up every Wednesday. So I appreciate you taking your time to be here. Okay. I know it's not the best subject to show up for something every Wednesday night. But with that being said, our program here tonight, our topic of discussion is empowering the grieving heart. Okay, and what are you giving your power and your focus to? And so, that's, I talk about that a little bit in my when I talk about being lost in the fog. You're lost in the fog. You're going through things. I was, in and out of the fog in my life for over 20 some years. Okay, that fog is as thick as pea soup, as the saying says, right? And if you were lost in it and you didn't know which way to turn, how do you get out of that? Okay, and so what are you giving in order to get out of it? What are you giving your focus to? So if you want to get out of the fog, if you were to go out there and get lost in it, you're thinking of where you need to be. If you're out in the ocean and you're lost in the fog, where do I need to be? Well, I need to be in the harbor. I need to be someplace safe. I need to be someplace, and I can picture it in my mind, and then you begin to steer the boat in that direction, okay? And you get to where you want to go. But but in our life, in our emotional life, and in our brain, we kind of lost in that mental fog, and we just don't have a clue where to go, okay? So how do we empower? We live with a grieving heart. We have a broken heart. So how do we empower that? Okay? How do we empower to make a change? How do we empower ourselves to be able to take our power back? We had a life event in our life that took our power away from us. So how do we take that power back? And the focus that we need in order to do that. Okay? So empowering the grieving heart. What are you giving your power and your focus to? Okay? So I believe that life events cause us to become disempowered in life. Okay? Everybody should probably have an idea what disempowered is. Okay? Disempowered is something that has taken our power away. Okay? It is, that we no longer have the power that we did. It took it away. My life event was in 1993 when my daughter died. My 3-year-old daughter died in a drowning accident 8 feet away from a lifeguard while she was in care of a babysitter. That was the life event. That day and time, I can remember it just like it was yesterday. That day and time is stamped in my head, my brain, my memory banks, and everything. And that is a point in time that life changed. Okay? This life event, I did not choose it. It did not choose me. It happened. Okay? So we need to find what it is that we are giving our power to in our life right now. We need to shift our focus so we can begin to live the life that we were intended to live. Okay? Problem is when we become disempowered, we're giving our focus to that event. We have a tendency to think of all the things, and we think of everything we did wrong. We blame ourselves. We go through blame, guilt. We go through all the emotions, the depression, the anger, the self-doubt, the disbelief, and the the bargaining and saying, bring her back and take me instead, or bargaining something else, and moving on to acceptance. But then what happens 5 years later? It shows back up. The cotton picking thing shows back up. It's kind of like if you had cancer in your life, and you go through all the treatment of cancer, and then they say you're cured from cancer, but they don't really use the cure, not that I'm aware of. They tell you your cancer is in remission. It's gone. It's not there, but you are now a cancer survivor, and so you will live with the fear that cancer can show up at any point in time in your life again, right? Same thing as if you're an alcoholic. You live life as an alcoholic. You're a recovering alcoholic. You may not drink and you stay away from it, but you know what? It's simple. Something could trigger that, and you could have a relapse and go right back into becoming an alcoholic or a drug, dependent person on drugs or whatever it is. That will be in your life. That is forever you. Just as grief, you are a grief survivor. Okay, you're a grieving parent. You are a widow. You're a widower. You're grieving a friend's loss. Whatever it is that you're grieving, you will forever be grieving. Okay, or known as a grieving parent. Okay, so I believe that life events cause us to become disempowered, and we need to find what it is that we're giving our power to through that process. And we need to shift our focus from that event, from that day, and be able to shift that focus and put it on another event, put it on something else. Oh, excuse me. And so we can begin to live the life that we were intended. Okay, hopefully, that makes a little bit of sense. That begins to come a little bit clearer that, that we sit and we think about that day over and over. We play through that in our mind. What could I have done differently? What can I do? There's not a thing you could have done differently. You did what you did, okay? And just as I did what I did, I could not change that event, okay? And if I could, everybody knows you'd go back and do it, right? But God doesn't afford us that opportunity. So he doesn't afford us that opportunity to be able to go back and change that event and make it something different. Okay? Because we'd probably wind up screwing it all up and then something else would happen. So we must learn from that event. We must learn from it, begin to determine what is taking our power. We understand that this event has caused us to become disempowered. So we need to find, what it is that we've given our power to and isolate it. And then we need to shift our focus and put that focus on something else that you want in your life, so you can begin to move forward and move in the direction you want to go, so you can begin one step at a time, one actionable step at a time to live the life that you are intended. Okay, so where do you see yourself in the next year? If I was to ask you this question, where do you see yourself in life 1 year from now? Okay, not 10 years, not at retirement, 365 days from today. Where do you see yourself? If you said you saw yourself sitting in the same chair listening to me talk about the same thing 1 year from now, we need to get some help. But if you can see something that you want, something other than what you have now for your life, what would that be? The other thing is, do you spend more time today looking at the present day, or do you spend more time looking life through a rearview mirror and looking in the past? See, for me, going back 24 years ago, I couldn't see to the next day, let alone see to the next year. I spent more time not looking at the present. I spent more time looking at the past. And I was more concerned about the way life was, because I wanted life back the way I knew it. Because that was familiar. I knew what to expect. And I knew what I wanted out of life before my life event. Just like I said, this event did not choose me, nor did I choose it. It is the circumstances that I have to deal with. And the thing that I learned is I made a lot of bad decisions over 20 years. A lot of bad decisions that affected a lot of people. Okay? So I'm not asking you to think what you want in life 10 years or 15 years from now. I'm asking you to look at life more as just 1 year from now. That is something that is actionable. That is something that you're able to do, that you can do. Okay? And then I want you to be able to determine, do you spend more time right now today looking at where you are right now and looking in the rearview mirror and looking to the past? And by chance, if you are looking in the past, are you asking the question to yourself that you really that you want it? It's the way life was. Okay. So what consumes us? What consumes your focus and everything that you're focusing on? Okay. And is it your grief? Okay, and grief is an all-encompassing thing. It touches a lot of things in a lot of areas in our life, but is it your grief that you're really focused on? Okay, is it your family and friends that you spend time focusing on? Is it your work? Or is it your finances? Here's the thing, okay? Grief knows no boundaries. Grief knows everything that's there. Grief touches your family, it touches your friends, it touches your work, and it touches your finances. So they are all intertwined. They are all connected, one way or the other. You see, I owned my own business when I lost my daughter, so I didn't have to worry about a boss firing me, but I had a business to run. So the next day after my daughter passed away, I went to work. Not because I had to, but I needed to go in and check to make sure everything was fine. I wasn't there long, but I did. I went, and or do you spend more time worrying about your family and friends? They're grieving too, okay? Or maybe you're many years later and your family and friends have moved on with their life and you aren't. Your life is still where it is and you're not moving on. Or maybe it's your work. 15 years ago or something like that, I was working with somebody and they told me a story about their employer, I think, gave them 5 days off from work. Gave them 5 days off from work where, so they can take care of the funeral and everything for their son. And she turned around and she had to go back to work after the 5th day. And, she made it through the next week of work. And she had a coworker come about 2 weeks, after the death of her son, and literally said to him or to her, "It's been 2 weeks. Aren't you over it yet?" I tell you, if I was sitting there, I would have yanked that person out of the chair and smacked the crap out of him. Probably not really, but that's what I feel I would say and do. But I don't know. I'm not there, so I'm not condoning violence or nothing like that. But I think you understand what I'm talking about, because those of us that have lived through that understand the ludicrousness, just the plain stupidity of a comment like that. But how many of us have heard that from somebody? Okay, how many of us have heard that from somebody at our workplace, or from a family member or a friend? Okay, if you haven't had that said to you, how would that make you feel? I had it said to me just a year ago. I'm talking 23 years later after my daughter's death. I have an aunt that says to me that I need to get over it. I need to move on with my life. That what I am currently doing is not healthy. Come on, get real. Come on. First of all, she didn't really know my daughter. And so she's not a stranger to grief by no means. My uncle passed away, her husband. Other family members and friends have passed away. I mean, she's in her 70s, so it's like, But the point of that is she doesn't know or understand me. She doesn't know what I'm going through. So, why say something like that? Why be mean or hateful? This is very therapeutic for me, number one. It's very healthy, number two, and as long as we are grieving and we're working through this process in a healthy way, that's the main thing. There's no time limit on it. There is no time. That's all we have is time. So why am I saying family, friends, work, and finances? These things are all intertwined because in my situation, I owned a business and I made bad business decisions because of my grief consumed me, okay? It affected my family and friends, okay? I did what I thought I was supposed to do, but I just went to work. I was there. In body, I was there. But mind and spirit and everything else, I was not there. 9 months later, I didn't pay any taxes and everything, and about lost the business when the IRS came beating down my door. They wanted their money. And so we put a plan together, and we saved our business over the next year, and we saved our business, and we thought we achieved the miracle, okay? But we also had legal stuff going on in our life through our daughter's death, and things were going on there that consumed us also. And so in some cases we weren't able to give attention to family and friends. But then our family was grieving, and we've had family members that I think would say that, their grief was worth the mine. And to hear them tell the story about it, you would think that their daughter died. And how does this affect the finances? Well, just as I said, that first year after my daughter died, there was decisions that I made in my business. There was decisions that I made financially that still affect me to this day. These are decisions that still cause me grief to this day. Okay? There are things that I still have to explain from time to time. There's still things that pop up from time to time. So it is all intertwined. If we are consumed with our focus of trying to keep our finances together and we cannot work on our grief, guess what? Our grief does not progress through. If we are worried about work and keeping our job because our boss is going to fire us because I'm missing too much work, then then we are concerned about that. That is consuming. That becomes a problem in our life. And then that can spill over, and then, of course, we have our family and friends to deal with. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. We all know that. Now, there's not a person I talk to, and there's not a person that I work with that does not have a horror story to tell me when it comes to family and friends. In my life today, 24 years later, I do not have one friend in my life today that was there when my daughter passed away. Okay? All my friends that were there when my daughter passed away are not in my life. They're there. I know them. I see them. I talk to them every now and then. But we are not friends. We don't go out and have a beer. We don't get together for a barbecue. We don't, get together for, whatever. We don't, our kids were babies then. Now their kids have kids. My kids have kids. And there's no connection there whatsoever. Now, it's not by my choice. It's not by their choice. We grew up. That life event defined us to the point it changed my life. It changed who I was. I am no longer that person. Rick Kaufman died that day that my daughter died. The Rick Kaufman I knew died that day. And it took me over 20-some years to find who I really am again. Now, who I am is a lot of who I was then. I'm just smarter, wiser, more mature. There's a lot of things about me that are the same, but in many cases that are different and that are much better because of what I've been through. Okay? But there's not a friend that is in my life today that was there then. Now, the friends that were there then, they were great friends. Don't get me wrong. They were there. They supported us. They did everything a friend should do during that period of time. But as life goes on, their life is the same. It's just that we're not in it because our life is not the same, so we don't fit. It's kind of like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't go. Does that make sense? So these things are so we need to understand what is consuming your focus in your life. Is it finances, is it work, family and friends, or is it just overall your grief? And it's your grief and you can't give attention to family, friends, work, or finances. Because we have to take care of. These are all areas we have to take care of, okay? And they require a little bit of time in each area. Okay, so let's go here on a scale of 1 to 10. With 1 being the lowest on the scale, okay, that would be little to nothing at all, to 10 being it takes all your time and energy. So how would you rate your life right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay. If it's a 1, then, life is, probably, okay. If it's a 10, life is not so good. Okay? Because you're focusing on your grief, your heartache, your blues, your sadness, your loss, grief, misery, despair. You have letdown, depression, you feel melancholy, you have agony, you have mourning, heartache, sorrow, loss, and the pain and the anguish of it, all the grief and everything that consumes you and takes so much of your energy. So that is what is taking everything away from you. Okay? So that's where you got to be able to rate that from a 1 to 10. Okay? So with that being said, okay, where would you put that on a scale of 1 to 10? And Okay? It's important that you do this, okay, because we need to understand what's the importance level or how do we feel about our life today. Because we're going to ask the next question. The next question is going to deal with something about if you could create something for yourself in the next year and you can accomplish it, what would you want to accomplish in your life? So in the next year, what would that be, or what would that look like? Okay, and on a scale of 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to accomplish that? Okay, so over the next year, what is it you want to accomplish? Okay, what does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What is it that you want to have? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to do that? Okay, if you're, and we're going to talk a little bit about this in a second. These two numbers and how they correlate with you being able to make this shift to focus on what's really taking your power and on where your focus is, and then where we really need to take our power from and where we need to send it, and where we need to put our focus. Okay, so. In your life right now, okay? So in your life right now, in grief, if it is a 10, and what you want for your life as the importance of what you want in your life is less than a 10, this can lead to a problem in your life because it's what you're being able to give your attention to is more important in that area of your life than it is your destination. So what I'm saying here is, if my attention, if I'm giving my grief and my pain and my agony, everything that I'm putting my focus on is my family, friends, and I'm putting all my focus on all those things that we just got talked about, with our finances and work, and that is a 10, and that's a 10 in my life, and the importance of what I want to accomplish in my life is only a 5 or a 6 or 7, then I can't expect to be able to give my power, because I have the importance level on what I don't want in my life is higher than what I do want in my life. Does that make sense? So if I want to make that shift, what I want in my life has to be, it has to be a 10. And the grief and everything has to be, I've got to rate it at a lower number. Maybe like a 5. Maybe something like that, how I see my life today. It needs to be something middle of the road. And then what I want for my life has to be much higher. And then I can begin to, now, with that being said, I can begin to make that shift and make that focus towards what it is that I want. Okay? So, understand this, that you have time on your side. I said this earlier. You have time on your side. How do you begin to shift your focus? Okay, you have time on your side, so how do we begin to shift your focus? Well, it starts with living an intentional life, knowing what you want and how to get there, and have accountability while you're on your way there. Okay, so it starts with an intentional life. When I talk about intentional life, what I'm saying here is let's use an analogy that everybody would probably understand. Okay. So let's talk about, I need to go on a diet. I need to lose 30 pounds, maybe even 50, but if I wanted to lose weight, I know each and every day I got to get up and eat right? I've got to count my calories or eat the right foods. I've got to plan for my diet this week. I got to plan my exercise. I got to plan my activities. I got to plan, the meals and what I'm going to eat. And that takes an intention. It takes planning, fortitude, and attention, okay? Because, see, I know what I want. I want to be 30, 40, 50 pounds lighter. I'm not heavier. But I want to be, 30, 40, 50 pounds lighter weight. And I can also visualize it because at one point in time in my life, I was that weight. I can just get my pants out and I can visualize what my pants look like today, and I don't like the size of them. So I know, I can visualize that. So I can mentally see that. I think earlier I said something that, can you visualize? Can you dream? Do you have an imagination, and can you picture things the way you might like to see your life if you were 50 pounds lighter? I know I could. My health is terrible. I'm a diabetic, got heart issues. I'm overweight. And, I tell you, a lot of this was brought on, my choices I made in the first 10, 15 years of my life after my daughter died. The choices I made were not good ones, and a lot of it was, I was very active, played sports, did all that. I coached. I did all that stuff after my daughter died too, but I did it with a different intention, different purpose. It wasn't, it was just something to keep me busy and keep me occupied. I enjoyed it, but it was something to keep me busy and occupied. Because the more I could take my mind off of that and put it on something else, but then when I'd go home, those same problems were still at home waiting for me. Okay? So that's a big difference. We need to live intentionally so we can make the right decisions and we can plan for the future so we know what we want and we know how to get there. And then the last thing is we know we have somebody that can hold us accountable. So if I was to ask you, who do you have in your life that that will hold you accountable? Do you have a spouse, a husband or wife, or a family friend, or somebody that's close to you that can hold you accountable? But understand this. Each one of them may be grieving right along with you if they've suffered a similar or the same loss you have. They may be in a totally, entirely different place than you are. They may not even completely understand why it is you're doing what you're doing because to them it may not make sense. Okay? I mean, there's a lot of different ways to accomplish the same thing. There's no magic pill. There's no magic bullet. There's no magic cure-all that's going to solve your problem. What's going to solve your problem is hard work, that's intentional work, and knowing what you want out of that, and feeling the emotion of that, and knowing exactly how to get there, and what you have to do, and then having somebody hold you accountable. So if you don't have somebody that's close to you that you feel would not make a good accountability partner, then, if you have a grief group or a club organization or somebody that knows you real well there, great opportunities are bound there where you can reach out to somebody and they can hold you accountable to what it is that you want to do. If not, I'm here. Look me up, hit me up, email me, send me a message on Facebook or on my web or here on our Facebook Live or whatever, and I can, and tell me you need an accountability partner. I have several accountability partners. I help many people with accountability, different things in their life, and then in turn, they also hold me accountable, to what I want. And then we achieve things together as a team. And so that's a win-win, everybody. That's a win-win, and you can't dispute that, okay? So, so make sure that you have the right accountability partner that will lift you up and not tear you down, okay? That's important to understand. Okay, so if you wanted to cure your grief and begin to live life, okay, to live the life that you want, accepting everything that has happened to you, okay, what would your life look like? Okay, so for an example, I have people that turn around and tell me, Rick, I want to cure my grief. Or they tell me that, Rick, I want to be able to look at life the way you look at life and handle grief the way you handle grief. Here's the thing, you have to understand. If you're 2 years or 5 years or 10 years in your walk in grief, you're further along than I am. Where I was and where you are. I was lost in the fog for 20 years. But the thing about it is I've got a lot of scars. I've done a lot of the work. I've done a lot of homework. So yeah, I can turn around and maybe cut the learning curve down a little bit. But at the same time, there's no magic bullet here that's going to turn around and say that you're going to cure this thing or beat it in a year's time, okay? We just set a small plan together to focus on one small task and focus on that 1 year from now. What would that be? So, and then we focus on these little actionable steps that we can take each and every day and live an intentional life with accountability so we can make these necessary changes in our life so we can begin to live that life. And if that would be the case, what would our life look like if we could do that? So if you could see life the way that I see life and do it, then if you could see that and be that, what would your life look like? If you could cure your grief, and you didn't feel the way you feel now, and you feel the way that you want to feel, what would your life look like? Who would be in your life? What would it smell like? What would it feel like? Okay? Where would you be? Would you be in the same home? Would you be someplace else? Would you be traveling? Would you be in the same job? Or would you have a new job? Or would it be in business? Maybe you have a dream to be in business for yourself. Maybe it's a total, complete life transformation where you just chuck it all away and start all over again. A lot of people do that too. Okay? So what would your life look like if you could do that? That's what I'm talking about. Find that emotion. Find what it is, the feelings and everything. Get out your notepad and do some homework and write it down. And be descriptive. When you write this down, be descriptive exactly the way it is, the way you see it, the way you feel it, the emotions, and what it would look like 1 year from now if you could have that. Because here's the thing. We all can visualize 1 year from now. Well, if I turn around and say 5 or 10 years from now, that's a stretch. That's a quantum leap for many of us. Some of us can't even see tomorrow right now. And I'm asking you to look 1 year ahead. Okay? So, and if you can't look 1 year ahead, then pick something out that's much smaller and look 1 week ahead or 1 month, but stretch it out there. Get it out there, something out there to get you to work, because to go till tomorrow is not really a whole lot of work now, is it? But to go for a year, that is. Because here's why 1 year is important. Because 1 year is important because it's a complete cycle. It takes in our anniversaries, birthdays, it takes in holidays, it takes in everything. So if I can get through 1 year and I can improve myself next year, even if I don't hit the goal on what I really want my life to be like, guess what? I'm going to be pretty daggone close. So how would you feel? Okay? So this is here's what it says here. It says this is the way what we. I'm sorry, I can't even read here tonight. This is what we want to be able to give our focus to. It's the power. It's the power, so we can begin to live an empowered life once again. Okay. So if I can turn around and visualize my life the way I see it 1 year from now, and I can feel it, and I write this down, I now can begin to shift my focus. And then I turn around and say, if I can give that a 10, that thing is a 10 on the scale of importance, and everything else takes a back seat to that. Now I can begin to shift, because when I shift my focus to that, and I give it the empowerment of saying, hey, this thing is that important, I'm going to give it a 10, then I'm making that commitment, and I have somebody that's going to hold me accountable to that, then the odds of me being able to achieve that really increase, and I can begin to live an empowered life. And it's just one step. It's creating new habits. It's creating it's redeveloping old habits that maybe we had before the life event, okay? And we're bringing that back into our life. But we're understanding, we accept what has happened, okay? Doesn't make it any better, but we accept it. It is part of our life. It's a life event. I didn't choose it, and it didn't choose me, but it happened. But I have to focus and move forward. It's time for me to move forward. And these are the type of people I work with. People that are several years down the road that realize they have a life event, they have something that's holding them, that's causing them to be stuck, and we need to move forward. Okay? So here's what I'm offering. Okay? I'm offering a 2-hour empowerment session. Okay? This is something I do, and in this empowerment session, we are going to create a crystal clear vision for your life and relationships. Okay? Because we all have relationships in our life, so you can begin to take your power back. Okay, along with your relationships. We've kind of touched a little bit on this tonight. Okay, there is a lot to this process, more than I can go through here in a little PowerPoint and on Facebook Live. But we can create a crystal clear vision for your life and your relationships, so you can begin to take your power back along with your relationships. Okay, we can begin to uncover hidden challenges that you're facing right now in your life that you contribute to your life event that may be sabotaging your healing to be able to live the life that you want. This second one is me in a nutshell. Okay? It's me in a nutshell, because I went 20 years. I was lost in a fog. I had hidden challenges. I blamed everything on my life event. I blamed my divorce on my life event. We may have got divorced anyways. I don't know. I mean, looking at my life, my marriage, that probably would have ended anyways. Maybe just might have took a little longer. But with that being said, I blamed my divorce on that. I blamed my loss of business. I blamed everything I was on that life event. And so I began searching for something. And what I was searching for was the person that I was before that life event. And that person, my goals and dreams were about business and success and money and everything. And I achieved most of what I was wanting in life at that point in time. And I was just, again, amassing more. I owned a couple businesses and stores. And so I was just, and I wanted more of that. And then my daughter was taken from me and it came crashing down. So what I started doing is chasing those things. And then upon success and receiving more money and going and chasing the things I wanted to chase, guess what? I wasn't happy. I was miserable. So the life event was there. So I sabotaged everything that I accomplished. And then I took people down with me. And it really, sabotaged my healing in my life, in the life that I really, really wanted. And what I really wanted was just to plain be happy. I wanted to be able to work with people and help them solve their problems. Okay? It wasn't about amassing a lot of money. It wasn't about a certain status. Or it wasn't about driving brand new cars. It wasn't about any of those things. Those things are nice, but you know what? I learned that, when you die, you can't take them with you, and they're only monetary things. And, I can replace all those things if they're lost. I cannot replace my daughter. I can't replace other loved ones in my life. The one thing I can say is grief knows no boundaries. Grief will touch you again in your lifetime, at some point in time in your life, and grief will touch somebody you know and your family and friends that are close to you. So if that was to happen tomorrow and you receive a phone call from a friend, would you be able to have a conversation with them and help them through the process? Because number one, if you can't be able to do that and be able to support them in their time of need, then, when they need you, because they're looking at you for help, because they're hoping you understand, and you do understand, but you're just emotionally not able to do that. Okay? So, this is all sabotaging, our life. Okay? So we got to move beyond that. And then the other thing is, lastly here, you'll leave this empowerment session feeling renewed, re-energized, inspired to finally begin to live your life again on your terms, live that intentional life, and feel that you have the purpose and you are worthy to live that life. That's a key word right there, worthy. If I was to ask you, how many of you feel worthy, or do you feel good enough to be able to live the life that you want? That's a good question, because I know if you was to ask that to me many, many years ago, I was not worthy. I was not good enough. And I put a gun to my head and tried to end it because I felt that way. That doesn't solve the problem, does it? All it does is create a big mess and create a big problem for everybody else to clean up and take care of what I didn't take care of. It's a very selfish thing to do. Okay? And I realize that. But that's where I was. And many of us may be in the same place or have been there. And so, but I am worthy. I know I'm worthy now, and I know I'm good enough. I mean, gosh darn, the BBC radio in London called me up to be on the radio back in December. I must be good enough at something, right? And so, from that standpoint, they stood up and took notice of what I do and had me come on their radio show. So, I normally charge $495 for a 2-hour empowerment session. Okay? And so this is for a limited time. Okay? It's for a limited time right now. And I'm offering this session at no cost. So there's no cost to this session. And it is limited to a limited number of people over the next several weeks. I had the time slots are beginning to fill up rather quickly. And so make sure that you get in touch with me at rick@afathersloss.com is my email, or on the Facebook. You can send me a message here on the video live feed here tonight, or you can turn around and send me an instant message. Okay, Or you can go to afathersloss.com and contact me through the website also. And, let me know that you'd be interested in scheduling a time here over the next few weeks. And we'll take, like I said, this is at no cost. And I'm here for you to help you in any way I can. And, if you need an accountability partner, talk to me, reach out to me, talk to me. How can I help you there? The one thing I'll say is, my mission in life is to empower millions of people. Okay? I want to empower millions of people to achieve what it is that they want to solve their issues and problems with their grief. Okay? There's way, way too many people out there that are going through what we're going through with no place to turn. And with the internet and everything around for them to do that. But the thing about it is there's a lot of people that don't, look for that type of advice or the leadership on the internet. Okay? Or they don't trust it for some reason. So from that standpoint, that's where empowering millions, if I can empower one person to be able to help one other person through this process, we're going to be able to reach millions of people and empower people through this process to be able to live the life that they want. If we can do that, how would life be different for you? And that's again, knowing where I'm going, knowing what I want. I want to empower millions of people. Okay. I started with a small goal. Now I have a huge goal. And that huge goal is to empower millions. And I need help doing it. But at the same time, I can do it one person at a time, one day at a time. Okay. And then in turn, I lift people up. Then, they go to work. They talk to somebody at work that, suffered a similar loss that they have, and they help them through that process, lead them down, get them the resources, and lead them in the right direction that they need to go. They become a good friend for them. And, many times we carve out lasting friendships that last a lifetime because, like attracts like. We are like-minded people. We understand each other. And some of my best friends today are grieving parents. Okay? We don't sit around talking about our children. But the thing is we understand each other. We have that emotional connection, and we get it. We understand. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? So make sure that you take advantage of this 2-hour empowerment session. I am an empowerment grief coach. Okay? I'm a transition coach. I help you transition through that period of time. And that's what I do. And I want to help you through that process to be able to get you to live the life that you want to live. But I want to help you through that process. Okay? If you know somebody that needs the help and you feel, hey, I'm doing great, life can be better, that's great, I'm happy for you. But, who do you know that might need the help? Okay? It's a numbers game, people. It's a numbers game. Because if we don't talk to somebody and we don't help them, guess what? If, I didn't have any bullets in the gun that day. But, the next person might have bullets in the gun and they're not here. They leave a wife and family and children behind. Okay? You can't take that risk. You can't take that risk with other people. You can't take that risk with yourself. And you can't take the risk with people amongst your own family and friends that they may need the help just as bad as you do, if not worse. Okay? Because that's how important it is to me. That's what drives me, and that's what makes me get up each and every day to do this over and over again, because I effectively say, who am I going to help today? Who can I help today? And I say that each and every day. So with that being said, guys, we've taken quite a bit of time here, 45, 50 minutes or whatever it's been. So we're going to kind of begin to close this out. But if you have any questions, feel free to email me questions at rick@afathersloss.com. And any comments, leave them there on Facebook, or, any comments you have, shoot them to me. And, let me know how I can help you. If you have any suggestions, I have a lady's story who she shared with me today, a story about her daughter. I asked permission to be able to share some information from her, but so I'm not going to really share anything here tonight. So maybe in a future time we may share some of that, because it's a very interesting story, but at the same time, it's her story is very touching, because boy, I tell you what, it's similar situations in my life and people I know in my life. So how many of us have people in our lives that so like I said, grief knows no boundaries. and it can happen again. And you know, what she talks about is it's probably in each and every one of our lives right now. And so, so with that being said, I'm not going to say any more, but I would really like to be, maybe focus a little bit on her program and hers. So if you know somebody that has a cause, somebody that has a mission out there, they need some help, let me know how I can help them. Let them know about me, and I will, I've got over 45, almost 4,600 people on Facebook. I've got another several thousand on another Facebook page. I've got, 1,000 on my personal page. I've got, several hundred readers every day on my website. I've got hundreds of people on my email list. I've got, Rolodex, full business cards, business associates, local. I speak. I do webcasts. I do other stuff also. I'm on the radio. Hopefully next month I'll be on another podcast radio show out of Canada next month, I'm hoping. And so, there's opportunities for me to plug other people's programs constantly all the time. So if you have one or you know somebody that has one, let them know, and maybe we can work together also. And it's a win-win for everybody. So with that being said, you guys are awesome. And you guys on Facebook, I appreciate all the love that you guys give back to me. Everybody here online, we've got several people online and also via the phone. And so I appreciate all the love and everything you guys give back to me and my cause and my mission, and appreciate each and every one of you. So you guys have a blessed night, and much love to each and every one of you. So with that being said, you guys are awesome. We'll talk with you next week, same time, 8 p.m. next Wednesday. And again, shoot me any comments or questions. Let me know what you think. We'll see you guys all later. Have a good one.